Andreas, one of the things I wanted to start out with is really something about your background, because here at the ESRI, as we do every year, we try to bring together a certain number of different perspectives, disciplinary and otherwise, and look at the circulation between different disciplines, circulation between theory and practice, the circulation between different epistemologies, and normally we put people in conversation with each other, but here we're speaking just with you, and I think that is maybe not accidental in the sense that you are bringing together something of the biologist, something of the philosopher, and I would even say something of the poetic mystic or mystical poetic. And so maybe we can just start there, and you can elaborate a little bit about this inner rubbing, maybe within yourself even.
Mm-hmm. Okay, yeah. Yeah, I know this feeling very well, the inner rubbing within the self. And now it has become a very pleasant feeling. When I was much younger, it was a bit torturous when I didn't know how I could integrate all these different parts of one whole, which is me in a way as a living being, or my attitude to life as a living being. And I actually started out very young as a kid as someone who really, really loved living beings. So I was just obsessed with animals and even with plants. And I remember once I dug out weeds on the other side of the road and planted them in an aquarium in my room because I found them so beautiful, like these super ordinary weeds. And in the afternoon, my father came home from work and he looked at these weeds and said, "Why did you do this? They're so ordinary." And so there was this profound loving relationship in a way, which I didn't call like this when I was young, but I was always somehow obsessed with it. And it didn't go away when I grew up. And then it actually became first a sort of interest in poetry and literature and beauty of art. And but then I also wanted to somehow, for some reasons, after some searching, I became a biologist. And I realized that if you love other beings, you're wrong if you do it if you're in biology. But I was actually also wrong if I did it in poetry, because it was always only about words. It was somehow just language talking to language. I was desperate. I was this young guy, like every term studying some new university program and becoming desperate and more desperate. And at some point my parents became slightly impatient, and some person from some university just told me, "Now you just pull through." So I had to put all this together. That's the story, actually. And I found some elders, some teachers who allowed me to put this together because they put it together in a way that was feasible. And one of them is Francisco Varela.
Yeah, maybe you can take us back to that particular juncture in your life, intellectually, but also existentially, what that turning point for you was like, and then what really grew out of that.
Mm. Yeah, so the problem, the suffering in these early years was that my connection to life was about and the intense experience of a connection to some thing or some body or some selves, souls, persons who were real. They were real, and the connection was real, and the experience was real. And I didn't find this anywhere in the Western academic offer of how to understand myself in the world. So either it was just projection and nice words, or it was just illusion and everything is a machine. And finally I decided to study biology because at least I could stay with these beings. And then they asked me to kill them, like you do when you learn, kill them. And so I was searching for somebody who explained me, or who it's wrong to say explained me, who gave me the confidence that my intuition was right. So what I needed was an idea of life which is the idea of life as sentient and experiential, and every life like me. I just needed somebody who convincingly, who actually, like, like a mother putting me on her lap and saying, hey, it's true. It's true. So I first found a Jewish German philosopher, Hans Jonas. That was the turning point. And I found him when I was in. Some of my student friends told me, "Why don't you go to the seminar with me?" And I hadn't even seen it. So this person, who is not a friend anymore, I somehow lost her on the way. She brought me there. Otherwise, I had no idea. I might be dead. That was the turning point. And I remember sitting in a garden chair at my partner's parents' house then. And I read one chapter of him, and I knew this is it. Like a revelation. And Varela was like kind of reinforcing this a bit later. And then it turned out that he was very close, and I talked about this to him later then, so that when I was working with him, this was a topic, the topic of the writing we did together. That was a turning point. So a dead philosopher saved me. Sorry?
You mentioned that you needed something more in your study of biology. From what I can understand of what you're saying, is like you needed care in biology, and because you told us that you liked everything that lived, and then people asked you to kill it.
Mm-hmm.
So there was no care.
Mm-hmm.
So was it care that you were searching for, or something more?
Now, I mean, I love it how you put it. Now I'm looking at you. Is that okay? I love it how you put it, and I love it also because I haven't thought about it in this way. And I think you're right. So what I needed was actually to completely different relational setting than that which existed, which was these are just things and you can just consume them and throw them away, which also means a different relational setting among everybody, among the students, and like something entirely different. That's actually what I really needed. But I wasn't that advanced to know that I needed this. So I knew I needed another idea. And now it is now that I'm enacting, I'm somehow really putting into work the conviction you so beautifully explained, that there needs to be care first. And what is care? Care is interest in the aliveness of the other, and nourishing the other, and the other will nourish you. So that's what's happening all around of us. Like right now, we can even hear it in the cicada song. And so you're right. But I was searching for an idea. So you see, when I was searching for an idea, I even found it. It was still many years, because I still thought, okay, it's an idea. I'm a philosopher. I write about it. I write books about it. It's a concept. I'll fight for my concept on congresses, and I wasn't there yet.
The second step was the embodiment process. That's it.
Well, the second step, like in the way you ask, the second step was to step out of this object-focused, dualistic binary setup in the first place. To just, if you want, you can say, give up scientific discourse in favor of something lived and direct and mutually embodied, shared, and that was a longer process, and I'm still, like, in a way learning to do this. And learning to do this, and I'm also seeing that that's the, if you look down to history, that's the way humans related to life for like 99.5% of historical time. Only this civilization does it in a different way. So it's also this sort of somehow going back and coming back to something. And then, you know, this I'm proud of all the writing I've done, and I'm proud of sort of the role I have in this discussion. But in the end, you know, if you're there, if you're in this immediacy, then this is just not important anymore. It's very funny. I mean, it can just sit under this tree and under this sound, in this sound, within this sound, and it's okay. But then I also have to make a living, and so I go on writing papers, giving speeches. Yeah.
And just going back to the beautiful presentation you gave this morning, bodies are love processes. If we can even just come back to that phrase unto itself and sort of draw it out a bit more. You're speaking about also from your own experience, you're not just giving us a conceptual frame. So maybe we can hear a little bit more about that from you too. Why bodies are love processes, and what does that actually imply in your lived experience? We've heard a lot about theories of autopoiesis and the work that really generated this framework from Francisco Varela. But for you today, as you just said, you know, we could be sitting under a tree and it might just be enough unto itself.
Yeah. So this title, in a way, connects back to the time I talked about when I was desperate, because that's what I knew. I mean, that's what actually you know. Everybody knows. Everybody knows that we are desiring to be in contact in order to give, and that through this giving we will also receive. That's a very natural knowing. And that's what happens between mother and child in the womb. So it's very basic, but it's also what happens between bacteria and the soil, or between these sweet doves and these trees. So I think it's actually somehow intuitively understandable. And then you cannot build a culture on this because you need argument. So what I did today was somehow explain, but on the other hand, I also somehow showed. So I did both in a way. And I know that the explaining is nice, but the showing works. That's what works. And that's what changes feelings. And that's what we need actually in this desperate time of life, which breaks down and which vanishes. But you want some more explanation. And
maybe from the felt sense.
Yeah, I try to do this. Let me try to think how I can go there. I've published a book which has as a subtitle "Erotic Ecology." So it's a long story that I think about life, about reality in terms of caring relationships or love relationships. And I also think that the most profound self-experience we have is of this quality. So it's something we know very intimately. And if we know something very intimately, then we have this sort of privileged access to it. And for me, this privileged access that we have through knowing something intimately because we are somehow made of it was always a great door to enter into understanding. I know that for many scientific attitudes, this was more a problem. Like, do not start from your own experience. This is what you are not supposed to do. And then there are all these problems, like the famous heart problem of David Chalmers we talked about today, which are actually problems because we reject something we can immediately understand. We say, no, we can't understand it, although we do. But then there's something missing, so we don't understand it because we just don't allow ourselves to understand what we already understand. But you still want to know something else from me. So actually, why am I talking about love in ecology? So I think we can give a very good definition of love. You know, love is something we can clearly define very simply. Very simply. Love is a is a practice, it's not a feeling. Love is the practice of giving life in a way that you receive life. It's love. And when I now ask you to get into the feeling which comes when you imagine that you give life, and through giving life you receive life, you will feel love, because that is what is happening. And that is what we can do. That's what we're actually doing, like sitting right here. You know, I'm obsessed with breath. So we right now, right here, we're doing this because we're sharing our lives with other beings. And so on this level of experience, and on this level of, let's say, structure of process, ecosystems are love processes, and bodies which are parts of ecosystems are love processes. So everything biological, in a way, is part of this gift-giving process. And we can access it. That's so fantastic. We have a feeling for it. Like I can ask you, and I see even on your face that you feel it. But we can also see it. Like if you look around, you see it. And you know, normally people who see this, like we're sitting under these beautiful old trees, these somehow dry evergreen oaks, and people see them and they feel great. And they don't really know why. So there comes some scientists and tell them, you know, what you're doing is forest bathing, and you breathe all this, and all this is all true. But what they're actually doing is they are in a gift-giving relationship, which is a love process. And this is why it is beautiful. It is really simple. And this is why you actually care for it. If you're not told that this is all an illusion and you should make money from it or whatever. So what I did today was to connect this idea, or to, let's say, I already connected it, or it also came from connecting these things. But what I tried to show was that this idea of the experience of this gift giving as love is very closely related to my teacher's ideas about the organism as being this continuous desire to recreate itself from something which it does not own. So from other, actually. You are made of other. But you're made of other because you desire to be yourself, which is weird. But then again, like if you look at this definition of love as this mutuality, then again, it is just this. So you can be you because you're made of other. I mean, again, you see, you can even say that this strange paradox, that you're the wave, but you're also the ocean. You're the matter of the tree, but then you're totally yourself. You have an ID card, you have an identity, you have a sense of yourself, but then you're also just the matter of the world which passes through you. Again, is this way of you're given to yourself through other. And because you are yourself, then you can give to other. So again, we have this. So I'm really fascinated by this.
Yeah, and is this maybe how you would venture to define care? Something about the mutuality of
Yes.
gift giving.
Yes.
In a larger sense.
Yeah.
It can be between two people, of course, but also in maybe a more.
Yeah, I mean, you see that it's only a tiny step to go from this. So I mean, if you ask me what is the difference between love and care, I would really need to think: is it actually different, or is care kind of like more like slightly the accent is even put more strongly on the aspect of practice, and love still has retained some image of, and it's also true. So there's some aspect of also being immersed in something. So it's slightly different, but I'd say it's very related. So you use care today because there are these terms like care economy and care work. You use it in mainstream settings because you wouldn't say love work because it sounds too woo-woo. So you say care work, but what you mean is actually this, because you don't do care work without the emotional engagement. So that's very important to see that this reciprocal gift giving is not just a neutral structural process. It is always also an emotional involvement. So, this is why it's nice we can kind of like, we could catch this like on camera, only half of the picture, because it would have been good to see your face also. And so it's important that we have the experience for this mutuality in our hearts. So this is connected. This is the kind of the same thing, and so every care process is also a profoundly emotional involvement. And in our way of discussing these things, we kind of still try to exclude this, but it's not excluded. There's another word I'd like to use for this, and this is the word commons. This comes from economy, but it's also very close. And if you look at the people discussing care economy, there are also people who are kind of known in the commons debate. So commons is actually a process of creating, which is distributed among all who participate, who put something into it, and among all who get something out of it. And it's not only human, it's like human and other than human. And it's a very old form of economy. It's the form of economy humanity has had for these 99.5% of its existence. It still exists. It even exists in the digital world, like Wikipedia. It's a commons. And Wikipedia, imagine if we had Wikipedia, it wasn't a commons, it had been bought by Elon Musk. It wouldn't be usable anymore, It is only usable because it's a commons. Because everybody, in principle at least, contributes and everybody takes something from it. So it's a sort of care process also. And you when you look something up in Wikipedia, you're happy to find it because some kind soul has put it there. So you see, commons is actually a description of a way to relate on fertile terms. And so now we are on a little bit more structural level, but it works. I mean, there's no commons without emotional engagement. And from there you can go to the place where you understand that actually good relationships are always commons, and they're always care processes. And if they are this, then you perceive them as loving. And it's very interesting if you understand the relationship you have, say, to your partner as a commons. It changes a lot the perspective. If you think there's somebody, and now I want to give something, and I also want to get something. It's very different from an understanding. We're actually participating in a commons, and we both desire to receive something from it, but we also both want to give something in it. It's very interesting. It's my recommendation to everyone engaged in a love process to see this as a commons. But it doesn't mean it's still a love process, but it's just with this twist of having another level of practicing in it.
It also sounds to me like it's more almost panoramic in a way, and spacious rather than straight line between two beings.
Well, it's yes, yeah. I would say what you perceive as panoramic is your intuition that now you're actually working in favor of a shared common good, and you're not working either in favor of the needs of your ego, or you're working in favor of the needs of somebody else's ego, and at some points they meet. But then unfortunately after 3 months one realizes they actually meet less than one had hoped. And this common shared good is, again, reality as a place of giving. So it's life. Or even love itself. Like you're creating love, but not love as something which you consume, but love which something which pours forth from the world and it's just creating more world.
Self-generating.
Well, it is self-desiring, and you have to help it. If you don't feed your partner on the bad days when he is in his baby phase, but you feed the idea of a giving world, it's very different, because then you can also how do you say nowadays, you can also put healthy boundaries, because actually I have a actually desire to make the world a giving place, and if I give this person what she or he wants right now, doesn't make the world a giving place. It's just It's kind of like whatever, blackmail or something. So you see there, and again in this practice of leaving yourself while caring for yourself, you're contributing to something which nourishes yourself, but which then also is bigger than yourself. And I think that's just the way we need to act, actually. So you see, I'm already covering your ethical question. That's what we want to do and what we can do, and we're really hardwired to do it. And only that the society we've created is so against it. But it's absolutely doable.
What is the place of sentience?
The place?
Yeah, because is there the particular kind of an emphasis on sentience? Because most of scientific people or layman people would agree that love is something that only human or close to human feel.
Okay.
So is there a need for sentience in love? What from what you said?
Well, okay, yeah. Let me try. I'm not sure if I completely see where you're getting it. So how I put it, it's this. I mean, even in the title of the lecture, bodies as love processes, and I was talking about bacteria, and so this is not a human thing. It's a thing of the world, and then also sentience is not a human thing, and it's not a thing only of dogs and dolphins. It's actually a dimension of reality. I would put it like this: it's a dimension of reality, and so in terms of if you want a name for it, this is a panpsychist attitude. So this world is profoundly subjective as one of its aspects. And it's profoundly alive, and this has to do with that. So when you ask me where's the place of sentience, so I can't tell you because it's everywhere. Like if you ask yourself where's the place of sentience in me, you won't find an answer, and it's not even only in you. Because we are now talking here and there's sentience, a lot of sentience involved. And where is it? So it's like everywhere, it's not even, it's like non-local. But then it's also very much connected to your body. And again, it's like individual and whole also. But I think, and I wasn't there when I found Hans Jonas. And I had to come there in a way. I was kind of rebelling against this idea that like, this whole thing is already full of subjective experience, but I think it's just we need to embrace this, and then it's actually very nice if we do it, because then you're so at home in this, because it's just like you. It's actually you. It's where do you have to? I mean, what can happen? You can just sit under the cicadas and just sit there, and it's okay. And normally it's a good feeling if it's okay. So let's just sit under the cicadas. It's okay. We stop work for today.